All right, what's going on, guys? Today I want to talk real quickly about accountability. Um, Earlier in January, we were just launching Sync Academy, as some of you guys know, and a lot of the new members obviously got in, watched a lot of the tutorials, and basically absorbed a ton of new information. And I obviously warned everybody, pace yourself. There's going to be a lot of stuff to go through. But I posted something earlier in the month in January, and I just asked an open question. What are your goals for your licensing career in the next month? 30 days from now, where do you want to be? And I had a lot of people respond to it. I think I had like 60, maybe 80 people actually respond, and they actually wrote down exactly what they wanted to do. Some producers wanted to create an album. Some producers were just looking to start to increase their workflow on a week-to-week basis. Some were actually looking to get a track accepted by a library, or maybe a couple of tracks accepted by a library. So the range of goals was actually pretty wide. There were people that were in all different levels of their career. Some of them were just learning the basics of building and creating licensable tracks. Others were a little bit further along in the game and were ready to start marketing and pitching to libraries. Now, we just passed basically that 30-day period, and I left another comment, and I basically just asked, for those of you that did write on this post 30 days ago, whatever your goal was, how many of you actually achieved that goal? Or where did you fall short? Or maybe you exceeded it? Where were you in that process? Now, I would have to say my expectation was that most people would not have achieved their goal. I just find that it's one of those things about human nature. A small minority of people actually say they're going to do something and then follow through and do it. Most people, for various reasons, usually don't stick to it. They just don't have the perseverance. They don't have either the habits or the schedule worked out, or obviously life sometimes seems to get in the way. And most people don't achieve what they set out to achieve. But to my surprise, and it proved me completely wrong, most people were commenting that they were getting accepted by libraries, that they were actually increasing their workflow, that their tracks were doing well, that they actually built an entire album or 6 tracks or whatever they felt that they could actually do. So that was really encouraging to me, and it got me thinking about this thing about accountability. I'm starting to believe that might be one of the biggest missing pieces for a lot of you guys in terms of when we are trying to succeed in the music licensing business. Obviously, our first allegiance is to ourselves because it's our life and it's our career, and we want to actually do this for ourselves and provide for our family and create this full-time income for ourselves. That's the goal, right? So first and foremost, you are accountable to yourself. Like, that's the person that you should be wanting to impress, right? And the one that you should really want to make sure that you meet the expectations of. So if you said in the beginning of the year of 2019, you said, okay, I want to start to, whatever your goal is, increase your workflow, create an album, partner with a library, wherever you are in your career, maybe just learn about mixing and mastering for the first time. It doesn't matter. We a lot of times will make promises to ourselves. We'll even sometimes write it down. We'll make these New Year's resolutions or whatever, and then we just let ourselves down. We don't actually hold ourselves accountable because a month goes by, we don't quite get there. Oh, well, this is just a busy month. February is the month that I'm really going to pick it up, right? And you guys know how the story ends. February comes and goes, and you don't really get what you want. But March, that's really where I'm going to buckle down, right? No more messing around. March is now my month that I'm really, it's like, it just goes on and on and on. And eventually, before you know it, you've really just became comfortable and used to letting yourself down and not holding yourself accountable. And I'm realizing now, just with this really simple post that I didn't put that much thought into the Sync Academy, I think there's something there about having other people holding you accountable. I would hope that, it would be great if we lived in a world where you could just make your promises to yourself and hold yourself accountable. And, if you don't meet your own expectations, that you really do, provide consequences for yourself, basically, for not doing that. But let's just be real. Most of us don't do that. We don't have the discipline to do that. And we're just really programmed in a way to let ourselves off the hook, right? Because it's like, well, nobody really knows that I didn't meet my goals because I'm the only one who knew about my goals. So nobody knows that I didn't meet it. So I'm not really embarrassed about that. So whatever. But if you know that there's a group of people out there that expect you to meet your goals because they're also expecting to meet their goals, and you have a deadline in front of you, and there's something about that that makes you feel like, well, I don't want to let everybody down, and I don't want to look like a chump. I don't want to look like the one person like in the group that's not pulling my weight and not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. There's something about that that's so powerful. I made a video on my channel years ago, 2 years ago, I think, about how deadlines are like the best thing that you could ever have for your career. A lot of people get freaked out about deadlines because we always think about, back in high school and junior high, where, you had homework and you had tests and you had those kind of deadlines, and it always just gives you a lot of stress. But the thing is, without deadlines, we give ourselves all the reasons and excuses in the world to not do what we want to do and not complete the goals that we set in front of ourselves. But if there are hard and fast deadlines, like, and I mean 5 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, one track has to be produced, mixed and mastered and bounced to an MP3 format so that you can now say, mark it off a checklist, done, right? Some of you guys, if you've ever watched, behind the scenes videos of bands on YouTube where they're talking about, creating their entire album, do they just sit in a room and talk? Well, we could do this song, we could do that song. What do you usually see, actually? What you see is actually a whiteboard or a chalkboard, and they write down every single track that they're working on, and then they have the little sections of what they need to get done. You got to do drums, then we got to do bass, then we're going to work on guitars, then we'll do some vocals, we'll do some programming at the end, mixing and mastering. And every time they knock out one of these things, they put a little X on it, right? So even within a band environment like that, they are creating accountability and an organizational checklist basically for, are we making progress? Are we, getting closer to this thing called an album that we're going to put out there? They don't just sit around, talk about it, think about it, and just kind of go with the flow every single day. They create a schedule, they create these deadlines, and they know that, hey, if we have to have this album done in two months, well, where do we need to be at the end of this week, right? So they kind of work themselves backwards and create that entire thing. And that's what professionals do, right? They don't just kind of do whatever they feel like or wait until inspiration hits them, because usually if you're doing that, you're going to hit writer's block all the time. Like, you're just not going to feel inspired every single day to create the most incredible music you've ever created. I mean, let's just be real. Like, this is planet Earth. Sometimes you don't feel that great. Some days you're not really that excited about getting into your studio and making music. Personal life, personal issues get in the way. So to combat all of that stuff that can be distractions for your productivity, it's creating accountability, essentially, that there's going to be a schedule that you stick with, and there's going to be people on the other end of that process that will also look at you and say, did you show up to this and produce what you were supposed to produce? So what I want to do, part of the reason why I wanted to do this live video, is I want to ask you guys, so either in the live chat or just comment below wherever you're watching this, what first of all are things that you do right now to hold yourself accountable, or maybe you work with other people that help you hold yourself accountable, that actually work, that you've noticed, like, yeah, when I do this, I actually get things done. When I have these kind of elements in my career, that's what actually gets me, out of bed or out of my funk and just start making music. Now, if you don't have anything like that, you have no accountability, I want you to comment and let me know what actually would make that difference for you. So what kind of a timeline or a schedule or a process that you think would actually really help you to make sure that if you didn't meet that deadline, you didn't show up for that meeting, you didn't sort of achieve the short-term goal that you were looking for, that you would have a sort of a consequence or a feeling of almost embarrassment that you didn't do it. I know it seems kind of weird, but like without those negative consequences, we usually do not do really well. I mean, you need the positive and the negative. You need the carrot at the end of the trail, which is full-time income with music licensing. That's obviously the big crown we chase in this industry. But you got to have that stick as well. There's got to be something there that says, if you don't get this, you're going to pay consequences for it. You need to have actually both of those things to get yourself in gear, to kind of kick your own butt, to make sure that you don't get lazy, you don't kind of fall asleep on your goals, right? And of course, a lot of this ties into the idea that to get to those larger goals where you have, hundreds of tracks circulating in the system and you're building up your royalties, well, you don't get there overnight. You guys all know that it starts with today. Like, literally, what can you do today that can get you closer to your goal by the end of this week? And then at the end of this week, what can get you closer to your goal by the end of the month? And you just keep going like that, right? That's how success is built. So what I'm thinking of launching, and I'm still brainstorming right now, and maybe with a lot of your guys' suggestions below and on this, I want to create a sort of a 60-day challenge. I'll give some clever title to it. It'll be better than that. But the idea will basically be you can jump on board with this challenge, and we're going to hold each other accountable for the goals that we set ourselves. Now, you obviously have to set your own goal, and that would be basically part of week 1 is determining what is your goal. And we're going to be realistic, okay? Your goal, if you're just starting out in this industry, your goal at the end of 60 days is not going to be full-time income with music licensing, okay? We're talking about, you know, maybe learning how to produce 1 song per week, getting your workflow up so that you can start knocking things out in a much quicker fashion. Because right now, maybe you're doing 1 track a month, 1 track every 2 weeks. So you need to start building some skills quickly. And by the end of your 60-day challenge, you are now producing a track a week, which is better than where you were before. Now, let's say you're already doing 1 or 2 tracks a week. Well, maybe you've been kind of like, well, I've been meaning to put a whole album together. I know that's the best way to get accepted by libraries, but I just, I don't know. I don't really feel like doing that. I just kind of want to whatever, right? Well, at the end of 60 days, you could have an entire album in a singular genre in a licensable way ready to market to a library so that you can now become an insider in the business and at least have a product to start pitching. Because a lot of you guys I know are excited about the industry, but you have no product. You have nothing ready to go that you could actually submit to a library. So maybe that would be your goal for the 60 days is that I want to go from having no album, nothing that I can really say that I can shop yet, to having at least 6, 10, 12, maybe even more tracks that I can start partnering with a library with, okay? So it's going to be a cool idea that you get to decide where your goal is, and everybody can kind of sort of fill in that gap for themselves. But there's also going to be a weekly progress check-in part of this challenge, so to make sure that you are held responsible, that if you don't show up and you don't show some work and some effort, then you're going to feel the sense of biting kind of guilt, like, damn, everybody else showed up and did their thing, but I didn't. And if that happens to you, I hope that little bit of heat you feel in the back of your neck gets your butt back into your studio so you can catch up and you can start getting back on track with your goals. So that would be the idea of this. I would be offering some probably more premium services along this to Sync Academy members, but I'm definitely going to include it here with my YouTube channel. I'll probably throw some tweets up on Twitter about it as well, so everybody can follow along and you guys can all participate in it, okay? Just the Sync Academy members might get some extra, added, encouragement and motivation, and something that I can do for you guys inside of the Sync Academy. But everybody obviously can benefit from being held accountable. And so that's what I want to sort of get across with this video. So please leave a comment. Please, throw something up in the chat here. Let me know what would actually really help for you guys. So in the next couple of weeks, I'll be sort of planning this thing out. I want to launch it. I'm thinking about launching it basically March 1st. If I can have the whole thing sort of structured by then. And I think it could actually do a lot of good for you guys to make sure that you have an end date, right? I'm going to give you a deadline. I'm going to give you a hard deadline, 60 days out, and you're going to write down and you're going to put together an actual goal to get there. We're going to talk about the sort of step-by-step, week-by-week elements to get to that goal and how to determine how to make sure you're staying on track. You're going to write this stuff down. You're going to either print it out and put it on your wall. I mean, we're talking about actually stepping up our game as professional producers here, okay? Not just feeling like making music. Oh, no, this would be cool to do. No, we're getting out of that sort of amateur hour stuff, and we're going to step our game up to behave and act like professionals, right? Which means we schedule things out, we have deadlines, and we hold ourselves accountable, and we hold each other accountable. So we're going to give it a shot. I think it's going to be something that can actually help a lot of you guys out. So we're going to see how that works. So make sure you do comment. Let me know what you guys think about it. I do appreciate you guys tuning in and watching. Make sure you do subscribe because if you're not subscribed, you're not going to see these videos and this challenge when I unleash it and put it out here. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Thank you so much.